Born on the 1st of June 1886 as Daisy Louisa Hancorn Smith, she became South Africa's first well-known serial killer and the woman we know today as Daisy de Melker. When Daisy was 8 years old, her father and brothers would depart for what was then known as Rhodesia, modern-day Zimbabwe. When she was 10 years old, Daisy was sent to join them. Some state this was due to civil war in South Africa, but other sources claim that her mother sent her on the trip because she planned to move to Port Elizabeth to marry another man. When she was 13, she left to attend school in Cape Town and stayed there until she was 17. Thereafter, she would attend nursing school in Durban, and this is where she would take a great interest in different substances and how they affect the human body. In between her studies, Daisy would regularly return to Rhodesia to visit her father and brothers. During one of these trips, Daisy met a man named Bert Fuller. From the very beginning, the two were absolutely smitten and even planned on getting married. This, however, would never come to pass, as during their relationship, Bert mysteriously passed away due to a very rare autoimmune reaction to a malaria vaccine. In the book Blood on Her Hands by Tanya Faber, a very interesting fact was brought up that people who suffered from such an autoimmune reaction exhibited symptoms that are strikingly similar to symptoms of being poisoned. There was never any evidence to support this theory, but that didn't stop a lot of people from speculating that Bert might have been her first victim, especially given that when he proposed, Bert made Daisy his sole beneficiary of his life insurance, and after Bert passed away, Daisy received £100. It hardly sounds like the type of money worth killing for, but consider the fact that that £100 is worth 100,000 rand today. After his passing, Daisy ended up in Johannesburg. There she would meet William Cowell, a fairly wealthy plumber. They immediately hit it off, and less than 2 years later, they married. The pair lived in Turffontein for the next few years, and even had 5 children together. However, the only one that would survive to adulthood was their son, Rhodes Cecil, born in 1911. William and Daisy, along with their son, later moved to a house in Germiston. During this time, Daisy would often treat William's aches and pains that he sustained while doing his job as a plumber with Epsom salts. However, this time, for some reason, William seemed to get worse after his treatment. Daisy had a doctor see to her husband, and he then prescribed him bromide, which was often used at the time to cure convulsions. William's condition didn't improve, and thus a second doctor was asked to come by. Before he could properly examine William, he passed away, and the doctor refused to sign off his death certificate. He claimed that William's death was very suspicious, as the symptoms he did exhibit, which were purple skin and foaming at the mouth, were indicative of strychnine poisoning. However, because strychnine was used at the time in very small doses to cure some ailments, she was provided with a death certificate after his autopsy and received a life insurance payout of a few £1,000s, which in today's money equates to a couple of millions. Not long after, Daisy met another plumber named Robert Sproat. Within a few months, they got married, and to the surprise of no one at this point, Robert started falling ill. Robert's brother was so concerned that he came by to check on him one weekend. Allegedly, Daisy told Robert on many occasions that he needed to make her the sole beneficiary of his estate, but he either never got around to doing it or he deemed it unwise. However, while laying on what he believed might be his deathbed, he agreed. Surprisingly, he managed to make a full recovery within days. Just a few months later, Robert fell ill again, displaying the same symptoms as before. However, this time, he didn't survive. According to some sources, he had convulsions that were so severe he had to be tied to his bed. And of course, Daisy cashed in on his life insurance, which was worth £4,560 or 4.5 million rand today. Both William and Robert were buried next to each other in Brixton Cemetery. About 4 years later, another plumber crossed her path. This time, it was Daisy de Melker. As you probably guessed, the pair fell madly in love and married soon after. Daisy took the name and became Daisy de Melker. Surprisingly, Sydney didn't start falling ill, but the same can be said for her son, Rhodes. It was about 1932 at this point, and Rhodes was approaching his 21st birthday, after which he was entitled to earn a portion of his father's estate. It's unknown if Daisy had somehow gotten access to it and spent it already, or if she had just simply wanted it for herself. But what is known is that Rhodes went to work one day with a flask of coffee, prepared of course by his loving mother, and shared it with a coworker. Soon after, both men became extremely ill. They did recover though. It was later discovered that Daisy had switched from strychnine to arsenic and perhaps misjudged the dosage. However, just a few days later, Daisy stood at her son's bedside as he died, an absolutely excruciating death. Doctors at the time claimed that it was due to cerebral malaria, but it would turn out that someone was watching Daisy very closely, and he was definitely not convinced by what the doctor said. He was William Sproat, brother of Daisy's late husband, Robert Sproat. William went to the police to voice his findings, and now a pattern was starting to emerge. They decided to exhume the bodies of her son Rhodes, Robert Sproat, and William Cowell. They immediately noted that Rhodes's body was in a remarkably good condition, given that he had been deceased for a month. This was, however, the first sign of the presence of arsenic, which is known to be good at preserving corpses. Tests performed concluded that there had been arsenic present in Rhodes's body, and strychnine present in Robert Sproat and William Cowell. Rhodes's co-worker, as well as the flask that they drank from, also tested positive for arsenic. Daisy was arrested and charged with 3 counts of murder. Although the evidence against her poisoning her son was already substantial, it was later corroborated when a chemist in Turfentine went to the police station and told them that he had sold her the arsenic. The man had Daisy sign a register, which he kept for all such transactions, and on it was written the name, Daisy Sproat. There was never enough evidence to convict Daisy of the death of her 2 ex-husbands, but that didn't make any difference at all as the judge read the verdict. Guilty. You are hereby sentenced to hang by your neck. Daisy de Melker was hanged on the morning of the 30th of December in 1932 in Pretoria Central Prison, after which no one close to Daisy fell inexplicably ill again. Until next time.